Hi, I'm Ed Ackermann. I'm the music director and organist at St. Barnabas Anglican Church. I'm also the communications director and deputy treasurer for the Fort Worth chapter of the American Guild of Organists, and I'm a member of the Church Music Institute. The presentation today is part 2 of managing copyright music licenses. Part 1 covered all of the basics of what copyright is as far as managing compliance to the law as it regards music performance. And in this part 2, we will cover how we can acquire the license, pay the royalty fees, and get on with our music. The information that I have presented in part 1 and in this part 2 comes from workshops offered by the American Guild of Organists and the Church Music Institute, and personal research of my own. A handout accompanies this presentation. You'll find it on the diocesan website, and you can follow along with me. And it's also divided into 2 parts. So what I have to say today is for educational purposes only. No legal advice is offered or intended. So for part 2, we will go to talking about obtaining licenses to use copyrighted music and how the 2 main ways that we can do that. One, you or someone at your church does all the work. You find out who the copyright holder is, you find their address or get them on the phone, you request permission to use their work, you ask what the royalty fee is, and usually there is one, maybe $15 for each time that you are going to perform the work. It may be more, it may be less. The person will send you, the copyright holder will send you an invoice, you write a check, mail it to them, and then you can legally perform the music. Now, when you think of all of the music that is performed within 1 month of church services, that requires a lot of time, and it is also much more expensive than getting someone else to do that for you. And that someone else is called copyright clearinghouses, and there are several, and I'll be mentioning the main ones that are used by most churches. The copyright clearinghouses have inventories of scores and publishers, and you subscribe to a company and you list your scores that you want to play and try to find a match in their inventory. If there's a match, you automatically get a license to perform it. You don't have to worry about paying a royalty fee because you've paid a fee to subscribe to the clearinghouse, and they will use that money to pay royalty payments. The annual subscription for these clearinghouses is normally based upon the size of the viewing audience, the congregation or the outside viewers that are looking at videos or listening to podcasts. And also, the companies require, as part of the licensing process, that you report the usage of the pieces that you have gotten licenses for. And they all have various rules on how those reports are done and what time they're produced, and that is very clear when you subscribe to a company. All right, let's look at a next topic, choosing a licensed clearing house company. There are 3 main ones that are in use today, and there are several others. These seem to fit what we are doing in our diocese. Some churches will need more than one license company. because these license companies serve different types of music. For example, CCLI, or the Christian Copyright Licensing International website company, mainly offers copyright licensing for contemporary Christian songs. So traditional hymns, like offered in the hymnal we use, aren't covered. So if your church does some contemporary Christian songs and the rest are all traditional, then you'll need CCLI for the contemporary songs, and you'll need another service for the traditional songs. One license company is mainly traditional. And then there's WorshipCast from the Christian Copyright Solutions Company that will cover everything. Instrumental music, choral music, congregational music, contemporary, traditional, and all three of these companies have different service fees. They have different reporting requirements. They have different ways for you to match up your scores with what they have in their inventories. But all of them are workable. And when you first subscribe to one, you will think you'll never learn their system, but it's easily learned. And once you learn how to work their processes, it becomes rather routine. All right, so we know how to obtain some help. Once we get a license and we are actually performing music or printing it or recording it, whatever, we have to be sure that we attribute the license to the music that we are performing. So for printed scores in service aids and whatever, the licensing attribution must be printed below the score or the words that you have printed in your bulletin or other service aid, or put on the screen that's being projecting that score or the lyrics. And attribution means you indicate who wrote the music, who wrote the words for the music, and who is the copyright holder. Is there one copyright holder, or one for the words and one for the music, and so on? And then, most importantly, you have to indicate the licensing company and your license number. Now, so that's for printed music that you print. When you are live streaming or pre-recording a video of your service, you must also attribute all of the copyright licensing information. You can do that two ways. One, by including it on a slide at the beginning of the video or at the end, or you can describe in very much detail all of the copyright information for every piece in the description block that is found below videos that are on the various platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and so on. Okay, so documenting and reporting usage is the next topic. Only way that the license company really has to authorize a license is to get feedback from you what music you have actually used. And so you're supposed to know in advance before you perform a piece that it is going to be licensed. And you do that by checking your license company's inventories to make sure the music is there. Then you can perform it, being assured that the music is in their inventory, and that automatically means you will be issued a license. And so at some point in the future, the license company is going to ask you to file a report of usage. When you do that, that is what officially cements the license and triggers the licensing company to write a royalty check to the copyright holder or holders. Next topic. This represents a lot of work that has to be done every week for copyright compliance. And so someone on the church staff needs to be designated as the manager or administrator of copyright license compliance. And if you're doing all of the licensing as within the resources of the church, that means finding the copyright holder and writing royalty checks and so on, then that almost needs to be a full-time position. If you're doing it, if you're getting your licenses through copyright clearinghouses, then you can designate that the duties of copyright management to an existing staff position as additional duties. It can take from 5 to 12 hours a week if you're using a clearinghouse. It depends how much music you have and how let's say, foreign the music is in terms of finding the copyright holder. The other thing, the person responsible for this copyright compliance is that there must be planning and budgeting involved. Planning in that because it takes time to get to check out the clearinghouses to make sure they have the scores you're going to play, and it takes money to pay subscriptions and so on. Someone has to plan the music in advance. Someone has to include in the budget the subscription fees that need to be paid. So, in summary, for really this part and the previous part, the management of licensing copyrighted music is really an important activity for the church to remain compliant with copyright law. Every church should have a policy requiring staff to maintain copyright compliance on all aspects of the copyright law. We've addressed music, but there's other intellectual property. Sunday school classes, if you're using CDs or video formats of music and you're live streaming them, that requires copyright licensing. So with someone dedicated to that job and keeping track of it, it will greatly help the church to keep compliant. So again, if anyone has questions that would like to address to me personally, you can contact me at St. Barnabas Anglican Church in North Fort Worth. Look at their website and the staff listing, and you will be able to find my email and ask me a question. I'll be glad to help you.